Hi, Lisa. Can you hear me okay? Okay, great. Thanks for letting me know that you can hear me good. We'll just wait another minute before we get started. Now we have some other people joining. Okay. Lisa, I've never been to Wisconsin. That's one place I've never been. I have a good friend from there, though. All right, just get started here. All right, we'll get started in a few seconds. Okay, so hi, ladies. I am Molly Hamill, and thank you for being here tonight. Lisa said it's hot in September. Yeah, it's hot here too. I'm in San Diego. It's like Santa Ana. So I'd like it to cool down a little bit. All right, so welcome everyone. So if you haven't seen it, there's a chat box that you can use through our time together tonight. And that's how I'll be answering questions. So feel free to type in a comment or a question or a heck yeah if you're like feeling what I'm sharing with you. And we will get started. So tonight we're talking about empowering the worthy woman within, and I'm so excited you're here. So if you do have the chat box up, like let me know your name and where you're calling in from. And we'll just get started by kind of getting on the same page here. So my goal tonight is to share with you 3 ways that you might be blocking your worthiness, and then 3 steps you can take to blast those out of your system and to connect with that absolute, magical powerhouse within, because that is our truth at the end of the day, but we forget that. So who's ready for some of that? Ready to get started? Let's get going. Let's actually take a moment. Let's just, because I teach meditation. So let's just take a moment. I'm sure everyone's had a busy day. Let's have you just close your eyes for 1 minute. Close your eyes and begin connecting with your breath, allowing it to come all the way in through your nose, down to your belly. As your belly completely expands with air on each inhale. And on the exhale, your belly button glides back towards your spine and all of the air completely releases out of your system. Repeating the cycle a couple more times, giving ourselves a moment for our collective energy to connect, getting completely present to this moment, allowing any thoughts or sensations that arise to simply be a part of your experience. And even if you'd like, setting an intention for our time together, something that you'd like to get out of this. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and we'll get going. Hey, Nicole from Boston. Yeah, I'm from Boston. Got a Boston person in the house. Sweet. Okay. So, as I mentioned during our time today, I want to give you 3 shifts you can make to lean into feeling worthy AF, as I call it. To see potentially some ways you might be blocking it, and then how you can release those to experience greater happiness and health and success, so that you can, get out there, have some fun, feel better inside, and experience greater results. Because you've probably all been there. Like, you have a great idea or you have a desire, and you have a moment of just joy as you connect with that. And another moment later, we begin smothering it with our fears and like our hows and our analysis and all of that. And so imagine like if we had a way to respond to that differently, or where we didn't allow our fears and our doubts to take over the show. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about tonight. That's part of what I'm going to talk to you about. How would it feel to operate from that space more often? And so we're going to get clear on those patterns. We're going to learn some steps. And ultimately what that's going to do is empower you to just show up bigger for yourself and others in your life. So here we go. Who is this for? Just in case there's anyone randomly on the line that may not appreciate this or be a fit. Generally speaking, I work with successful, motivated women who are either experiencing a block to getting to that next desired level, or who are allowing their doubts and fears to rob them of going bigger or receiving joy in the process of getting what they want. So, if you're feeling like there's some part of you that deep down knows that you're worthy of more and that you need help allowing it, we're definitely going to help you with that tonight. If you're experiencing a block to getting to that next level, this is for you definitely. If, again, like I said, you're allowing doubts and fears to get in the way, then this also will be very helpful for you. Because the truth is, so I mentioned that, a lot of the clients that I work with, they're very successful women and, by all appearances kind of like have it going on, but inside they feel depleted oftentimes because their value, their worth is attached to something externally, their job, their kids' success, and that creates kind of an exhaustive cycle. And so it can lead to like becoming overachievers and perfectionists and stuff like that. And that's where I'll talk more about this in my personal journey, but just kind of we can end up sucking the joy out of a lot of things that we don't need to. And so we're going to release this. So let's be honest, on some level, you're probably not feeling as worthy as you could, and which is why you're here. You could also be feeling some more struggle than joy, and you're wanting to flip that equation so that it's the opposite, right? And the other thing is that it could be holding you back from experiencing greater success. And so we're here to help you activate some change with that. And just as a quick mention, I am giving away a prize at the end of this, which I'm super excited about. It's one of my favorite things. I feel like Oprah right now. I'm giving away one of my favorite things. And so make sure you stick around to the end so that you have an opportunity to get this free gift. Everyone I know that has this loves it, so I'm hoping you will too if you're the winner. So let me introduce myself. So I'm Molly, mollyhamel.com, and I am a recovering perfectionist, workaholic. I am a joy seeker, a thyroid thriver, and a Frenchie mama. That's my four-legged son there, Miles. And when I say joy seeker, I'm like not one of those what I kind of consider annoying people who pretends to be happy all the time. I'm kind of like anti that. I am all about like feeling what's coming up and relating to your emotions in a healthy way, which in the long run actually creates more joy for us. So as I said, a lot of outwardly successful, bright, beautiful women don't feel good enough inside. And it's actually what drives many of us to be overachievers and perfectionists and stuff like that. And living that way is like, it can be exhausting and unfulfilling. And trust me, because I was like the queen of that. I know what that feels like. I got in a really destructive cycle of proving my worth through my work. When I achieved, I felt on top of the world, except the road to it was full of pressure and force. And the high, the result was very short-lived, like seconds. And it left me feeling exhausted and depleted and, constantly searching. And eventually this self-sabotaging cycle cost me my health. I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's hypothyroidism, which is an autoimmune condition, and thyroid, obviously. I had adrenal fatigue, leaky gut. I had so much going on in my body. And ultimately, to heal my body, I had to learn how to feel good enough just because, like, no carrot attached. And I started to see myself in others, and while their circumstances and their stories might have been different, I noticed some of the same patterns of unworthiness in my coaching clients, and that their doubts and fears not only held them back from feeling good about themselves and enjoying their lives, but really also held them back from experiencing greater success on many levels. And this, of course, almost always, followed by self-sabotage and coping mechanisms. For example, emotional eating or spending or drinking or criticizing self, and other. And so like many women I work with, I didn't realize I wasn't feeling good enough. I was kind of blind to the pattern until I couldn't be anymore. And my body was the one that taught me this. And for me, it showed up as burnout. Like I've talked about, like physical, literal. I was in bed for 6 months, like couldn't function, couldn't even go for a walk without being, having enough energy. And, it might sound different for you. For others, it might sound like getting okay results despite your best efforts, but never really getting the exact results you want. So some of the aha moments that I had in this journey that led me to start talking about it was, for me, health was just a byproduct of my worth. Learning that I'm worthy because I exist, not because of my accomplishments, and success without struggle is possible. Okay, that might sound totally crazy, but bear with me and I will explain. Because I find a lot of women have an attachment to struggle. Well, humans do, it's a condition. And if there's any gents on the line, like, hello gents, but typically I'm speaking to women, so I target my message to that. But when people ask me, like, what's the one moment that changed my life? Like, it makes me think I might have been pretty messed up, because there were definitely more than one, and I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet for you and cover a couple of the key ones. But as I mentioned, I ran my body into the ground with illness, and my body just wasn't budging. I was doing everything my doctor told me. I was doing like all the right things with like diet and everything else. And then I realized I was still being such a jerk to myself internally. I was like criticizing my body and perpetuating patterns that led to the health issues to begin with. I was placing unrealistic demands on my body. And like, it was one way that I was creating struggle in my life, and really I had to lean into forgiveness and acceptance and a whole bunch of other things in order to start the healing process. And that is when my body started responding. The other moment that I had related to struggle was I'm certified in tapping, which is a modality that I use, EFT, emotional freedom technique. And I was working with my teacher one day, and I like literally discovered that I had an attachment to struggle, to making things hard, which I know sounds so crazy because of course on a conscious level, that was like not even like something that was like on my mind, but it was there. And so it really made sense when I started to back out, like, okay, I had an autoimmune condition, and autoimmune is the body attacking itself. Well, where did my body learn to attack itself? Well, it learned to attack itself through me, because I was always attacking myself, like that I, couldn't lose the 5 pounds, or like this or that. Those perfectionism behaviors were prevalent in my life, which is a lot of people with thyroid can have some of those similar behavioral patterns. So I literally had to learn how to allow more fun and joy into my life, and to drop the struggle, and to allow easy to be easy, which sounds like kind of crazy admitting it. But the more I work with people, the more I see that pattern is so prevalent, and it's a subconscious thing. We're not consciously trying to create struggle in our lives, but we are doing it. The result is the same, right? And so, part of it for me was like worrying about what other people thought, and like my way was kind of like different than a lot of people in my family growing up. Like I was like into law of attraction, and they were all lawyers, like literally, I was into emotional intelligence, and they were into like IQ. They're all like total smarty pants. So anyway, it's like these little things can happen along the way that create struggle for us as a pattern. I'll get into it more, but I want to just like check in for a moment, and feel free to write in the box, like, what about you? Like, what are some of the frustrations that come up for you when you think of doubting yourself and questioning yourself? I'd love to hear from you as we're going through this. But what I can tell you is that, no matter where you are in your journey, please know that it is very possible. I am living proof, and I've a lot of clients that are too, that it is possible to know in the depths of your core that you're worthy just as you are. That it is possible to experience life with more joy and less struggle and doubt and fear, to own your worth in a way that generates bigger successes and feels more joyful, and to feel empowered in the face of the old stuff when it comes up. Because the bad news is a lot of it's fears and doubts it's a part of the human condition. It's never going to go away per se. It might get easier in some areas of our life, but when we learn how to relate to it differently is when we start making some massive shifts. And that's what I'm going to teach you tonight. So yeah, I'm going to teach you some cool stuff, and then I'm going to give some cool loot. So let's get started. So I'm going to share with you 3 blocks that I commonly see that create self-doubt and what I call the unworthies, a case of the unworthies. And so here they are. Here they are, these negative little Nellies. The first is a lack-based mindset. The second is emotional baggage, usually from the past. And then the third is limiting beliefs and subconscious patterns. And all of these create spinning, sabotage, and just feeling like you're stuck. And so I'm going to get into each of these because you might be wondering, like, what the heck do these have to do with self-worth? So let's get to it. Let's talk about the first one here, lack-based mindset. So that's stuff like, I don't feel good enough, feeling those creepy self-doubts and fears coming up, maybe in the middle of the night. You go to bed feeling fine, in the middle of the night, it's like you feel like you're being lectured by some person inside of you telling you can't do it, it's not possible, or snap back into reality. That's one of my favorite ones that the ego pulls with us. Get back into reality. Persistent inner criticism along the way, even if you're going for it, it's just that criticism is just constant. So who has some of these things buzzing around in their brains as they go about life? Give me a little smiley face or something. The truth is, our ego wants to be so dramatic. And our ego is located energetically in our solar plexus chakra, which is also our center of worth, of power, right? So, okay, yeah, so weight, self-esteem, health, past stuff. Okay, cool, thank you for sharing that. So the ego wants to be so dramatic, and it wants to make us believe that there's something wrong with us and that we need an answer, like we're something that needs to be fixed, and it would be impossible to think otherwise. But you know what? The ego is a damn liar, and it's one of the things we're going to talk about tonight. And the ego is misguided. It can be misguided in how we use it. So the ego isn't always bad. It's meant to protect us, but it protects us in ways that we actually don't need. And so that's what we want to establish. Because here's the truth. You don't need to be fixed. There is nothing wrong with you. You're not a problem to be solved. Those are the tricks of the ego that the ego uses to keep you feeling stuck and in analysis paralysis and problem solving and blah, 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 blah. But the truth is that you have a choice to make. You can keep playing at the ego's level and you can keep feeling stuck, or you can rise into your truth and your wholeness and your worthiness, and you can shine. You can make decisions and choose thoughts and take actions from that space of understanding who you are or dropping into your fear and doubt. And you can feel the difference as you think about those two things, right? So just kind of watch how those two things feel different to you. And you can choose when these symptoms pop up, when you have a fear, when you have a doubt. You can choose to see that these are normal, they're going to happen in life. There's nothing wrong with you when they happen, but that they're just symptoms of a lack-based mindset, and that you can literally choose differently. You can choose different thoughts. You can choose thoughts that are aligned with the truth of who you are and what you want. And it takes some work and practice, but it's so possible, okay? So let's say this together. Lack of worthiness is simply a lack-based mindset. Let's not give it more power than it needs to have over us. Your ego wants to make it more complex than that, but we're not going to let it. So stop listening to that little maniac inside. Maybe yours isn't a maniac. Mine feels like a little maniac some days. Let's stop giving it our power. Let's stop listening to it, okay? And let's understand that in those moments of fear and doubt, we have a choice to make. We can continue listening to the crazy, or we can choose with clarity. And we're going to talk about that more. So who's with me on that? Who gets that? Who's like, okay, I have some power here. This isn't something that happens to me. I can choose how I respond to it. And this is what I call getting a mindset makeover, like a worthy girl mindset. And so this is, to me, the definition of owning your worth as a woman who sees her doubts and fears, which inevitably will arise, and chooses to respond to them in a way that lights her up, instead of dimming her and putting her into darkness. So the truth is I've heard that we have 60,000 thoughts in a day, and 90 to 95% of those are repeated from the day before. And of those repeated thoughts, 80% are negative. So we really have to like be mindful and consciously up level the number of positive thoughts that we have. The bad news is like, we'll never not have negative thoughts, right? But the good news is that you can 100% choose how you respond to them. And 100% sounds like such a better number to me than the other numbers that I just listed, right? Because everybody has doubts and fears. Everybody in the world, the most successful people, the people that are on top of the world, they have doubts and fears. Everybody has them, but some people don't succumb to them. They relate to them differently. They notice them and they choose differently. And that's what we're going to start doing. Choosing to embrace a mindset that reflects your worthiness. Okay, and here's how you do it. So the first thing is you gotta build yourself some mindfulness muscles. It's like going to the gym, you know, like the first time you go to the gym, you haven't worked out in a while, it pretty much feels horrible and it's very humbling, right? But over time it gets easier and it even gets fun. And so mindfulness muscles give us the same thing, and we can practice that through meditations. But I would just like to add that like not all meditations are equal. So there's some that are very relaxing, and then there are some that are just cleaning the crap from our heads, which I'm going to talk about more. Have a process to clear your fears. So having fears is normal, like I talked about, but how we respond to them creates success or holds us back. And then choosing thoughts that empower you. And this all to me goes back to having a daily mindfulness practice, a meditation practice that grounds you in these things, so that in that moment when the fear arises, you have some muscle, you have some memory of how to respond to it. And I want to share with you, because, you know, it's one thing for me to like just share this, but I want to, in my own words, but I want to share with you some words from someone I worked with who did just this. Okay. She up-leveled her mindset because, you know, like I said, I can preach and teach, but it's so much more effective, in my opinion, when you hear from someone who like doesn't do this professionally, who has done what I'm sharing, who built her mindfulness muscles and got engaged in some powerful meditations and got a process to clear the fear and has had a tremendous positive results in her life. And, you know, so this is what she said about going through that process is like, she was stuck in patterns holding her back. She didn't feel good enough. She felt anxious. And as she started integrating the processes that I was just talking about, she began to notice that she had some beliefs that didn't serve her. She used her tools, she uncovered, she released, and it was like a powerful way to release some of the negative stuff that was going on in your life. So you have to have some tools that support you in the shifts that you need to make in your mindset, because this is, at the end of the day, part of this is a mindset issue. So I want to ask you, like, where do you see this happening in your life? The negative thoughts or the self-doubts butting in and holding you back? Like, is it a specific area? Is it overall? Is it a process of when you think of going bigger, of receiving more, you know, creating something? You know, where might this be kind of paralyzing you from taking action? And like, are you ready to change that? What would it feel like to be able to change that so that stuff didn't come up? You know, as you go about living and as you go about creating and as you go about thinking about things that you want in your life. So that's the first thing I want you to do to empower your worthiness. I want you to up-level your mindset, build some of those worthy girl muscles. And I want to talk next about the second thing, which is emotional baggage. So this is like our old stuff that blocks us from feeling greater joy. It's other people's expectations of us. It can be memories, experiences, and regrets. And I will be so honest, this is where I see a lot of shame stuff come in. And in my experience, the self-punishment that people are giving themselves far exceeds the crime. And crime, I don't mean literal. I mean, you know, you goofed up once 20 years ago and you're still like punishing yourself for it. And we all kind of do it to some level, but I'm here to say, like, it's time to release that stuff. You know, I see women hanging on to stuff from so long ago that probably no one even remembers, like drinking too much at a holiday party or something like that. And, you know, we get in a cycle of believing that because we have that uncomfortable memory that we're like not 1,000% perfect. So we're not worthy like of something, you know, that we have to hide, that we can't be amazing after all because we haven't had like the most perfect, you know, record to date. But I'm here to call BS on that. And I hope you are too, because that's just a pattern. All it is a pattern of denying ourselves joy. And you know, we can do it to ourselves, as I've mentioned. We can also allow others' opinions and desires to do it to us. So, maybe we wanted to be a hairstylist, but our dad wanted us to be an engineer. And so we're in this career that we hate, but we don't want to leave it because it would be a waste after all that education we had, right? But would it be? So we have all this stuff inside of us that weighs on us. And it's time for us to give ourselves permission to release this. This goes a long way in owning how worthy we truly are of greatness. And because like when we have the belief that we're not good enough, we don't allow ourselves to feel good enough. And it's a giant loop that keeps cycling, okay? And it's a problem because all that stuff inside of us blocks us from feeling and experiencing the amazing woman within and allowing her to shine brightly to the world, you know? Instead, we dim her because we deem her to be not worthy. And so we get so lost in that loop and we get disconnected big time. And I'm here to invite you to get aligned. And I'm going to talk to you about the power of releasing some of that emotional stuff and then getting aligned. Like, what does that really mean? And so alignment creates clarity and it creates confidence. When we're not aligned in our truth, our greatness, because we got so much of that old stuff like weighing us down, we feel it. And so, you know, asking you like, where is there a lack of alignment between maybe who you want to be or who you are and how you're behaving or how you're showing up? And a lot of this, I'm going to talk in a minute, is like subconscious stuff. And so it's like that classic example of like, oh, I want to lose 10 pounds. That's a conscious desire. But then I go and I eat like, you know, like a pound of cookies. So, okay, that behavior is a little contradictory. What's going on there? There's some underlying thing. That's the third thing we're going to talk about. But as much as consciously possible, getting alignment between those two things, like who I am and how I'm showing up. It requires forgiveness. It requires compassion. When our behaviors aren't aligned with our truth, our desires, that's when we can feel, you know, shame, or we can feel like failures or frauds or fakes or, you know, whatever other word your ego wants to use. But you get the point. Like we feel bad, we feel down, and we start to doubt ourselves when we have all that stuff going on. So are you with me here? Can you see why it's so important in boosting our worthiness to release this old stuff that's just part of the past and really it doesn't serve us in any way? Because when we begin aligning our behaviors and our thoughts with our desires, our actions, you know, with our truth, when we align those things, we start to feel so freaking good inside and we care less about what other people think in a good way, you know, and we feel more confident. It allows us to feel, you know, more joyful and hopeful and positive. And when we feel that way, we're also aligning with the universe in a big way. We're a magnet constantly attracting what we want. And so maybe you can think, you know, of a time in your life when that happened, like when you felt aligned and things just started like flowing easy for you. So the bottom line, my recommendation is like start working through some of that emotional weight to begin reconnecting with the truth of the amazing woman inside of you, because she is in there 100% without question. And I'll share like another example of someone who did this in real life. Oops, did I just skipped a thing here? Okay, sorry. So before we do that, so let's talk here. Why is this like so important? So emotions are the senses of our soul. And this is cool. They're actually like doing research on this. So the brain in your heart responds quicker than the brain in your head. And so if we're disconnected from our emotions because we're bogged down with kind of like negative ones from the past, then, you know, we're not doing ourselves any favor. And because in my book, there's no such thing as like a bad emotion. It's how we respond to it that can create good or bad outcomes in our life, if you want to label them good or bad or whatever. And at the end of the day, like our emotions are vibrational guides. So what does that mean? When we were just talking about aligning and attracting, it's like, some of you may have read the Esther Hicks stuff, but we know that we're heading in the direction that we want or what we want to receive or achieve through our emotions, because we feel good inside. But when they're clouded and our vibration is down around like guilt and shame regularly, it's hard for us to connect with ourselves in that way, right? And so we want to clear the stuff so that we can connect with our intuition. We can connect with our heart center and respond to that. So having that process to feel, forgive, and gain internal freedom, the past and the present. So, I've heard that we have like between 60 seconds and like 2 minutes to fully feel an emotion before it sticks to us in some level. And the truth is we're all so busy during the day that it's like we don't have time to like, oh, excuse me, I need to interrupt this meeting so I can like feel what's going on inside of me. No, we don't always have time for that. But when we have a process to, at the end of the day, kind of clear some of that stuff, or long-term go back and clear some of the stuff that's been bothering us for a while, then we release the stuff that's been interfering and creating that cycle of unworthiness that I talked about, and also helps you get very clear on what it is you want. You can feel your way into your desires. That's like actually how we create powerfully as partners with the universe, right? So feeling our way into our desires. And so this is what I was going to mention before. It's just like this is possible. I see my clients do it all the time. Here's an example of someone who I shared a process with her, and she can get through kind of like the yucky stuff now, because the yucky stuff is what we want to avoid so often. We don't want to like go there. We don't want to feel it. And often when we feel it, it releases pretty quickly, but we spend so much energy stuffing and avoiding it. Right. And so when she got her process down of just being able to get in touch with her core feelings, she could release them quickly. And she has a process to like untangle and to like move forward successfully, which she says has completely changed like past, because she's cleared that stuff, and future, setting herself up for success, because now she has a process to be able to clear on a regular basis. So she doesn't get down and like stuck in the muck, if you want to like call it that, as frequently or as deeply, right? So just like checking in, like where is it that you maybe feel unaligned, and like where are you ready to experiencing a different way to help you with this? So those are the first two that I wanted to cover with you. The first was up-leveling your mindset. The second is like having a process to be able to clear your emotions. And then the third way to empower our worthiness is deals with our beliefs and our patterns. So yeah, these are I call them the subconscious sabotagers and the success suckers. So basically, 95% of our behaviors, our actions, are driven by our subconscious stuff, despite our conscious desires, like I talked about with like losing weight and the cookies, or maybe you want to pay off debt, but you see yourself continuing to spend more than you make, or whatever it is. There's like these ways of being that we're like, wait, why are we doing this? This isn't consciously what I want, but it keeps us stuck in that cycle of feeling, kind of bad about ourselves. And it often also blocks us from receiving or achieving what we desire. Or this is another big one I see, like getting just enough, but never more than enough. So I remember in my 20s, it was like, oh, you can have a great guy and a great place to live or a great job, but you can never have like all three at once. And that's a like worthiness set point. That is a glass ceiling we self-impose, saying we're only allowed so much goodness. So we can have just enough. But if we get that bonus through work, that means that our washing machine is going to break down and we'll have to spend the money using that, So maybe you can think of some ways that you have kind of done this. And these things, sometimes look like outwardly, maybe there's a worthiness issue because of the results, but you don't necessarily like feel it. Like you're not like, oh, like, I have a self-worth issue, but you put a container on yourself that you can only have so much. And that is actually a sure sign that there's some kind of limiting belief or sabotaging pattern that's going on under the surface that is, preventing you from taking action, or taking action in the way that you want to, or even like taking actions that are directly contradictory to what it is you want. So anyway, who's tired of this? Like, are you tired of this? Can you relate to this? Is this something that's going on in your life? And are you like just tired of kind of being or receiving just enough, like just enough to get by, just enough to survive? And if you're in that space, then congratulations, because that means you're ready to transform and to rise up and to elevate and to calibrate to this new level of, higher consciousness that I'm talking about, because getting just enough is a byproduct of feeling not enough, like 100% without doubt. It's living at the survival level too. So I always call it the thrival level. I'm like, let's get to the thrival level, which I'm completely making up words, but let's stop playing small. It's just, you're selling yourself short and it's holding you back from feeling more love and passion in your life and from receiving more of what you want. So let's talk about like what to do with this so that you can change that. And my belief around this is like aligned action empowers attraction. And so our thoughts create our reality, our emotions help us know if we're going in the right direction, and we have to be also taking aligned action towards what it is we want in order to receive, right? And so when we take action that's aligned with who we are and what we want, we're naturally attracting circumstances, people, and results that we seek. Okay, but before I get into this deeper, I want to share a few of the most common patterns of sabotage that I see. And on like face value, you might think like, nope, this isn't me. This is kind of crazy. What the heck is she talking about? But as you go back to your life after this webinar, I want you to check in and like honestly see where might this be showing up for you. So let's talk about vows. Like we kind of like sometimes we'll commit to these unspoken vows, and a lot of them have to do with our family. And so I was talking earlier, it's like I'm never a believer in like blaming our parents for our stuff or like, you know, things like that. But I do think there is wisdom in looking back and seeing I maybe developed patterns in response to my situation. It wasn't that my parents forced me to behave a certain way or forced me to have a pattern, but there was maybe a situation going on and like I developed a pattern in me to respond to the situation, and it might no longer be serving me, like vows, for example. So say your parents struggled with money when you were growing up, and maybe as a result, they kind of like resented wealthy people. So on some level, you could be committed to honoring your parents by denying yourself money and affluence, right? And so this isn't obviously something you're consciously like, yeah, like forget it, I don't want money, but it could subconsciously be something that's there. The other thing that I see a lot is, and I excel in struggle. Totally me, like raising my hand, outing myself here. This is such an old pattern of mine. So what happens is like a struggle in childhood maybe becomes familiar. And so you carry it into adulthood. So maybe it could be a number of reasons. Like maybe your parents struggled financially, or maybe there was a struggle with health, or it could be anything, you know, just you experience struggle. And so then you kind of perpetuate that because it's what's comfortable. Say, for example, your parents struggled in their relationship with each other. You might find that you create that in relationships today. Could maybe not even with a partner, but just with people. It's not always a one-to-one match. It's kind of like the autoimmune thing that I talked about. If there's an autoimmune condition that runs in your family, you might not have the same autoimmune condition. In fact, it's often not the same one. It's usually a different one. And so it doesn't mean that the struggle is going to be like a one-to-one match. But if you grew up in an environment, like say your parent was an alcoholic or something, and you become used to the struggle that can be associated with that lifestyle, then you can perpetuate that in different ways. Maybe you struggle with your weight, or you struggle with money, but the pattern can repeat. And so this is the stuff we want to just like bust through and release. Easy feels uncomfortable, kind of related to that, right? So you know, if struggle is what's familiar, then easy feels uncomfortable. So, you know, I find ways to make things hard then. Like it's too easy just to receive like a bunch of money. Like I have to work so hard in order to get that. Or it's so difficult to meet the perfect guy. Like I have to struggle to do that because just easy feels uncomfortable. So we create situations that it becomes difficult for us to receive. Again, not consciously, but this could be going on underneath the surface. The other thing is like you create a lack of alignment inside of yourself for approval. So I used the example earlier of choosing a career because someone else in your life approves of it, even though it just feels like not good inside of you. You do it because you're receiving approval externally from someone that you care about. So these are just some of the little ones that I see pretty often. And I wanted to share them with you so that you can, hey Farron, check in and see like where might these be showing up, or what are some other ones that you might be experiencing. And honestly, like, so you're probably wondering, what do you do with this? Like, how do you eliminate these patterns that are sabotaging your health and happiness? Because these are no fun. Like once we're aware of them, we want to change them, right? So how do we like bust them up, as I call it? So this is literally like taking the garbage out of your mind daily. So clearing your subconscious mind, finding a technique to release on a subconscious level and get to work. and then choosing new beliefs and patterns that empower you and are aligned with your desires. So I personally love EFT, emotional freedom technique, and I love certain meditations that have, been clinically documented and stuff to really improve functioning of the brain. And I study Kundalini yoga, which is also, Kundalini meditation. And Yogi Bhajan, who's the master of Kundalini yoga, always said, certain meditations like clear the garbage from our mind daily. And we have to do that before things stick in our brains and become problematic or become patterns over time. And so I'm encouraging you to get some tools under your belt to be able to clear this stuff, clear these patterns, so that you can then create new patterns that support your health and your happiness and everything else that it is that you want. And so I'll share like another example of this. One of my clients who did this, she took these tools that I shared with her, and she said like she was so classic of like having everything be hard, like everything had to be a struggle. And she did the work, like at the end of the day, we have to do the work. Like a coach can't do the work for you. We have to take tools and use them ourselves. I do it with these tools too, but and she said how much her life has changed from clearing some of that stuff. Like her decisions are faster. She's more confident in them instead of needing everyone's opinions and making decisions a struggle. She's able to just like do it, hone in, make a decision, choose faster, and it feels easier, which is such a gift for someone who, maybe like was struggling and created struggle in basic decisions. And a lot of people do that, and that enabled her to trust herself on that deeper level, which is awesome. So can you imagine that? Like, can you imagine just things feeling easier? Like what that would feel like for you, checking in, just like, where are you making easy hard? Where are you creating unnecessary struggle? And are you ready to release that? And by the way, like you better be, because you're in the wrong place if you're not ready to release it. So let's just review the 3 things that I want you to start doing like today to start creating massive shifts in your worthiness level. These are the things that will empower the worthy woman within you. So trading your lack-based mindset for a worthy girl mindset, clearing your emotional baggage and cultivating feelings that attract your desires, and then releasing old belief patterns that no longer serve you and adopting powerful beliefs that are aligned with your truth. Because here's what I always say, like this is one of the things that I share, like worthiness perpetuates joy and joy perpetuates worthiness. So it's just time to drop the struggle and it's time to embrace a new way, ladies, okay? Because you deserve it. You have the power, okay? Remember that. To embrace that and to embrace the magnificence of who you are. Like it's just time to stop playing small, and it's time to stop buying into the ego who's telling you you're not good enough and blah, 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 blah. And it's time to stop buying into those things that I just talked about that are holding you back and are creating cycles of feeling the unworthies, as I call them. It's time to enjoy like creating your dreams. And at the end of the day, no matter what belief system you have, I talk about the universe, this is the most neutral, but the universe or whatever it is that you believe in wants this for you. The universe sees your magnificence. We're the ones that block it. So it's time to stop blocking that. And it's time to start allowing that. So like, who's with me? Who's ready? Hopefully you're like giving me a high five from wherever you are. Do a smiley face in the comment box. Are you ready to live in a new paradigm where there's less struggle and there's less doubt and there's less fear? And when that does come up, you have a quick and easy way to respond to it that keeps you aligned and keeps you focused towards what it is that you want. All right, that smiley face. Perfect. So, I try not to be black or white about things, but I'm going to be a little bit here. So the first choice you can make towards your worthiness is like how you're going to go about doing this. So the first option is like kind of slow and frustrating, to be honest. Like you can try to do this on your own and you might be successful, but finding the right tools and coaching yourself through it can be quite a process. And especially when we have our ego kind of working against us, it can be, the success rate isn't always as high, right? And obviously I'm going to provide a different option with you, which is like fierce and fast and just full of freedom. And it's doing it with a tribe of women who are going through the same process with you, with proven tools that you can use to like kick some ass and get massive results like in just 6 weeks, because that's what it is, like no exaggeration. And that's my program, Wild Light Warrior. It's a 6-week life transforming program for women who are ready to ditch their doubts, find greater freedom from their fears, experience greater levels of joy, take their success to the next level, massively own their worth, and be supported by a high vibe tribe. So how awesome does that sound? Lisa's ready. Yay. Yeah. Yeah. Like, let's ditch these old ways. And the ways that I've taught you tonight, go for it. Like, I'm telling you, those 3 things will change your life. Shifting those 3 things will change your life. And I'm also willing to bet that doing it in a safe and supported environment with proven tools will get you there much faster, because the doubts and everything that you've had have held you back for too long. So like, let's not let those things waste more time for you, And wild light to me is that spark within you. It's within all of us. It's the truth of who we are. It's our radiance. It's that moment of knowing that you're worthy just as you are because you exist. And we have those moments. You can flash back to 1 or 2 or many in your lifetime where you just have that pure moment of peace and bliss, where you understand your value, that you don't have to do anything or show up anyway to experience it. It's just who you are. We're born with it. And over time, we disconnect with it, okay? And so today is that day I'm inviting you to reconnect with it and to live life from that space. So can you imagine what that would feel like to live that way? So connecting with our truth, our wild light, our authentic self, what that does is it provides us courage. It provides us the passion and the joy to live differently. So who's ready to surrender into that sacred power within you, that spark of light deep within your core, because it's there and you just need a little help accessing it. We're so used to accessing our doubts and fears. And I want to reprogram so that you're accessing this other side of yourself that maybe isn't as comfortable to you, okay? So this is like a wild light warrior is someone who slays doubts, not dragons, defeats limiting beliefs, strengthens her mindset muscles, destroys unhealthy habits and builds new ones, busts through the walls of her heart. Nicole's ready, yay. Leads her tribe through presence and grace, because we all have our tribes outside of here. She's protected by an army of angels, or whatever you believe in. We tend to think we have to do everything ourselves. That's just a struggle mindset. So I'm inviting you to release that. And you're a force, but you don't force. Oh my God, maybe the biggest lesson of my life. Like, who is ready for that? Who is ready to connect with that force inside of them? You feel it in there. I can tell. I know you feel it in there. You have a force inside of you, but we disconnect from that and we force things in life. And this is all about releasing that. All right. And knowing like that's surrendering. Surrendering is a superpower. It is not a weakness. And so this is perfect, like for anyone who wants to succeed bigger, feel more joy, and own their worth in a massive way. So can I like show you? I want to show you how this would help you do that. Okay. So, oh, this is so funny. I love this. So sometimes when I get passionate, I swear. So that if that offends you, that's like an opportunity for you to forgive me. But this was what someone wrote to me about Wild Light Warrior. And this is someone who's like a PhD and like, and I think in their late 40s or whatever. So I haven't really heard her use this language before, but I'll bleep it out. But this was so funny. She was like, do it now. She's talking about Wild Light Warrior. Do not go in with expectations. Just work through the process. It works. Bleep. I came in with one expectation, but that expectation was addressed by a greater uncovering that allowed me to heal my past, present, and bleeping future. Just you wait. This program will change your life. And to me, that's like the beauty of this program. That's why I'm so passionate about it. That's why I'm so obsessed about talking about this. Like in 6 weeks, you will feel a massive shift in your life of something that has been weighing you down for way too freaking long. And I'm no longer willing to stand for that for you. Like it's time to stand up, to rise up, and to choose better for yourself. Okay. Because like, how much longer are you willing to doubt? I mean, to choose your doubt and your fear over your greatness, like your spark of light. And by the way, this is not selfish, because women, we have a tendency to like always put others first, right? And so the thought of doing something for ourselves kind of like freaks us out. I'm going to actually suggest to you that owning your worth in a greater way, and one way to do that is like through this program, is it is not selfish. It enables you to show up bigger in your life, which enables others to show up bigger in their life. Okay. Energy is contagious, and all of the shifts that you make help others make shifts too. It empowers other people. And the truth is, as everyone knows by the craziness that's going on, like the world needs this. The world needs you more than ever before. So that little spark of inspiration that you have inside of you that you've been smothering with doubt and fear, like it is time to rip that doubt Band-Aid right off and lean into that. Okay. The world needs women showing up in bigger and brighter ways. Like there's a ton of women already doing it, but let's do it more. Let's do it bigger. It's time to rise up even greater. And so let me talk to you a little bit about the benefits of Wild Light Warrior. So there's 4 modules, 2 group coaching calls. There's a bonus here. So basically what all of this is it's literally the exact tools that you need to release the subconscious crap and to overcome the 3 things that I was talking about earlier that are holding you back. This is stuff that I've cultivated for close to a decade now, that I've worked one-on-one with women, and it works. Like literally women felt like they were healing their past, present, and future in 6 weeks. Like, can you imagine that? Like, what a gift, right? And so the modules are mastering a worthy girl mindset. So I teach you how to up-level your mindset. The second module is unfucking yourself. And so not that there's anything effed up about you at all, but it's just releasing that garbage that doesn't serve you, that isn't part of who you are. The third is igniting your inner wild light warrior, and then shining your wild light. So it's 2 group coaching calls, which, oh my gosh, women like have raved about those, to be honest, that the power of seeing that they were not alone in what they were going through. And also this cool thing happens. I do tapping on the group calls, and there's residual benefits. So even if it's not your issue, it works in helping you release. I had some women say that the group coaching calls like help them release so much just by listening to me coach other people on them. So they're super powerful. Bonus, a tapping 101. So EFT is one of the best ways and quickest. Like I'm talking in 5 minutes, you can release lifelong patterns that have held you back. And tapping has an 80% success rate, but I share some tricks and tips in this free training that you got so that you bring that ratio way higher than 80%. There's support in a private Facebook group. When I wrapped the last Wild Light Warrior, everyone was like immediately asking for an alumni event because they felt so connected to the women who were in that group. I heard routinely since the last one that people are continuing to use these tools on a daily basis, and they're continuing to have breakthroughs outside of this program. Like literally last night, I talked to one of the Wild Light Warriors from last program, and I was like, oh, because you can do this program for life. So I'm like, once you've done it, and I said, oh, we're launching round 2. Would you jump in if you want? She's like, I don't even need to. I'm doing so great. Just doing the stuff that I've already learned. And then I also include powerful meditations. So I've said to you, like, I'm like such a meditation snob. Not all meditations are equal. I share powerful ones at you that clear the crapola. And then I also share what I call an 8-step formula to freedom, which I heard multiple times is actually people's favorite part of the program. One woman said to me, like, she had tried journaling. It's a journaling process. She had tried journaling over the years and just never got it. And through this process, like basically healed so much stuff and continues to use it because it's an easy process to use and it's so effective. Literally, it helps you release that emotional stuff, that mindset stuff, and hit the reset button to reconnect with the divine spark of light inside of you. So people love that. The 8-step formula to freedom. And so again, you might have your own tools that you can use, but I want to offer these to you because most oftentimes people don't have them, and that's where they get tripped up. Like, how do I do this? Like, I get the how, but like, how do I really do this? So basically the program comes with all the tools that you need to release the stuff, and then to also learn to relate to your thoughts and beliefs differently, your doubts and your fears differently in a way that doesn't hold you back, right? And doesn't slow you down. So here we go. So typically, this program is $797 But for everyone on this webinar, I wanted to offer a special price tonight. So it's literally $300 off. And there's a little fancy little thing that you can, okay, I should see that now. A little button I added. So if you're interested in signing up, you can hit that button right now. And I'm offering an awesome benefit to the first 3 people who sign up. But before that, I want to share something with you. Oh, here it is. So the bonuses. So you get the free tapping training. So that's bonus number 1. The first 3 people who sign up get a complimentary 45-minute session with me, which is a huge value and very complimentary to the work that we'll do in Wild Light Warrior. And then just for being on here tonight, one lucky lady is going to get one of my favorite meditation accessories, which I'm a Libra. I'm all about accessories, but this one just makes meditation so much better. So I'll announce that just in a few minutes. Okay, so again, I can yammer on and on about how passionate I am about teaching this stuff and how effective it is, but literally the best way is to convey it through the words of people who have done this program. And this one woman said here, oh, okay, this is what I talked about. She had trouble committing to the journaling process. The format was easy. Her negative thinking isn't sticking around. She's able to get back on track much quicker, those are the key things. Like that right there is the key thing, because like I said, we're always going to have those moments of like the negativity coming up, whether it's internal or external, and how we learn to relate to that and to respond to it creates all the difference in the world. Okay. She said her intuition has become so much stronger because she's cleared so much stuff during the process. And as life goes on, facing obstacles, she's experienced them. She's able to hold her ground and to trust she's worthy of receiving what it is she wants, despite having a few bumps in the road and stuff like that, right? So, I mean, the truth is that I work with coaches. Like, we all need support. Like, if you're experiencing wanting to feel better about yourself, wanting to get more success, wanting to experience more joy, then you need a method for it. And this is a super powerful and effective method. This is another one that I loved. Yeah. So this is someone who shared that she could finally get in there and own her worth, like after just 6 weeks, which I consider pretty amazing, in a way that she'd never been able to before. And she spoke to how a lot of the stuff in the program helped her. So the calls, homework, the accountability, the meditations. And she's like giving herself finally permission to feel worthy. And it feels amazing to her, and is creating results in her life that are different. So imagine for you, like, how would it feel to respond to life differently, for when those fears come up, to not let them take you down, but to empower yourself to rise above them and to feel more joy as you're going about achieving and receiving what you want in life, and not going down the rabbit hole of despair and doubt when these things come up. I mean, it is literally will change your experience of life. So you can, like I said, use some of the stuff that I shared tonight. And if you want support with it, I'm 100% excited, so thrilled to be able to support you with it. So the program starts next Tuesday. After you sign up, you get like all the information. There's the program flow, and we'll figure out when the live calls are based on the schedule of the people who sign up. And, you know, just to reiterate to you, like, you are ready to join if you're ready to feel greater levels of worthiness, if you're ready to experience more joy in life, and if you're ready to go bigger and to receive bigger. And also, of course, like, most importantly, like I said, like, if you're ready to have transformational tools that you'll have in your back pocket for the rest of your life to use to bust through your fears, to bust through your doubts, okay? This is it. Like, that's everything you get here. And like I said, it's totally awesome price for you, which I love, giving little gifts like that too. And this is really a chance for you to trade that lack-based mindset for a much more worthy mindset, to clear that emotional baggage and to cultivate feelings that attract your desire, to release the old beliefs and the patterns that no longer serve you, and adopt powerful beliefs that are aligned with your truth. So let me know, like, what questions you have, what's coming up for you, what concerns you might have, like, gee, I'm interested, but feel free to write in the comment section here. But the bottom line for me is this, that I believe it is time for you to reconnect with the magnitude of your magnificence. Somewhere along the way, you disconnected from that truth, or you're not connecting with it enough. You are magic. You are amazing. You are radiant. You are a light. You are a miracle. You deserve everything you want. You deserve to shine bright. You deserve this because you exist. Period. End of story. You don't need to do something to experience this. When you were a little itty bitty baby, you knew this with, like, in every cell of your being, how worthy you were. And over time, it's just we disconnect from it with our experience of life. So your invitation right now is to reconnect with that magnificence within you, to stop playing small, to stop letting your ego win, but to take charge and to own your awesome, as I always say. So can you imagine living life from that place? Because that's what's available to you. And that's the invitation to you. So feel free to type in any questions, any comments, anything that's coming up. And remembering they have like super awesome pricing as an attendee of the webinar. And there's a link like on the chat box that you can click if you know, like, I'm in, I'm ready to sign up. And then let me do the little giveaway. So let me pick a name here. All right, okay, cool. So yay, congratulations, Nicole. You are the winner. And what I'm giving away is my favorite meditation pillow. Is actually like custom designed and built by a woman that I know in San Diego, Christy. And the pillow is called Sitting Pretty Still. And it basically enables you to, like, it's so beautiful, but it also like enables you to meditate without having pain in your knees and all the other stuff that can come up with it. So I will message you privately so that I can get this to you. It's, I think they go for like $150. It's an awesome, beautiful gift. She even put like a little lavender into the pocket, and it's so comfortable to sit on, so you can extend your meditation experience so that you can bust through some blocks for a longer period of time, or bust through some more blocks, etc. But feel free, if you're not catching this live or you have some questions after, to reach out to me. Otherwise, keep in touch and let me know how it's going for you. You're so welcome. You're gonna love it, Nicole. What questions are coming up? If you have any about Wild Light Warrior, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I hope that this has been of value to you tonight, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you as you release some of these blocks of unworthiness and step more and more into your greatness. All right, have a beautiful evening. Sat Nam.